Welcome to another episode of JB360. We have here the Windone E2. This is sort of like a Surron style type e-bike, and the reason I say that is if you kind of look at the frame here, you kind of have this like sort of moto seat kind of cradle over here in the back. But one of the things that does stand out, that does make it sort of like a Surron, is this swing arm design back here. As you can see, Surron actually has sort of this similar design in terms of the swing arm part, and overall it does have that kind of look. But if you were to kind of dig a little bit deeper, it does kind of resemble the same frame as the all-new Ghostcat that came out this year. If you notice here, it has like sort of this frame design where it's kind of like curving down here, and you kind of have the section for the shark pack over here, and you know, the controller over here, and sort of the light controls over here as well. But yeah, you have that suspension in the middle with that triangle as well. So yeah, I would say that it's definitely sort of like resembling that sort of enduro sport type look, you know, between the Ghostcat and the Surron. So I can see why people kind of point that out when looking at the Windone. And yeah, the E2 is a really nice looking bike, I have to say. And at the end of this review, we'll also talk about my favorite upgrades in terms of speed upgrades, in terms of brake upgrades, mods and stuff like that. We'll talk about it at the end when I give sort of my full review, my full recommendation for this bike. But overall, it looks great, you know, in terms of design. So if we go back here, as you'll notice, we are rocking mag wheels on the back and the front of the bike. This is great because you don't have to deal with sort of that like spoke maintenance in case you're going over like crazy bumps, you know, crazy like potholes and stuff like that, which does make it ideal for taking this thing off-road, which is really nice. So yeah, we're rocking a 500 watt nominal motor in the back. This peaks at about 750 watts. And we are also rocking 20 by 4 inch off-road tires. These are sort of not like heavy duty tires. These are sort of your like, you know, cheap little, you know, CST tires that you would put or you would see on sort of these stock e-bikes, these fat tire e-bikes. One of the upgrades I would probably do, because I don't do much off-roading, is I would probably switch this out to maybe street tires, possibly some Ultraverse dual sport tires, because they're a bit more economical. So that would be one of my recommendations. But nonetheless, you do get decent off-road tires. Definitely want to add slime to these because these do pierce easily. So yeah, this is rocking a 160 millimeter rotor in the back, coupled with front and rear hydraulic brakes. These are from RSX. I'm not too familiar with this brand, but the build quality does seem pretty good in terms of budget hydraulic brakes. As you can see here, you can actually put the mineral oil within here. You got the reservoirs over there. Stopping power was pretty decent, but we'll test that out more once we get on the road with this. Also with this particular model, you do have front and rear fenders. These are pretty sturdy plastic in the back. The front one does kind of jiggle a little bit, even though I've tightened the screw up quite a bit. Still kind of moves a little bit. So as we work our way to the dash over here, we actually have 5 pedal assist modes. So pedal assist 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Really nice colored dash here. Displays the battery indicator up top, as well as the percentage once you start moving with the bike. Also just has a trip meter in terms of miles per hour, and also your total mileage gained as well. And I do like this sort of little toggle switch here where you can actually adjust the modes. It's really noticeable sort of on the left side, especially with the big plus and minus signs here. You have your power button here on the bottom. Really user friendly. So you would hit that, hold it down to turn it off, hold it again to turn it on over here. You even have a power switch here for the light. So once you toggle that on, you can see the headlight It's not that bright. I wouldn't say it's really the brightest light. It's you know, good enough for pedestrians and cars to kind of see you on the path, to see you on the road, and that's really what it's really, you know, meant for. You could upgrade that to something a little bit more aftermarket with a higher lumen count, but for stock, it's not bad. Also, one thing to note, we have here our front shocks with dual preload here. One preload for the left, one preload for the right side, which does help with rebound. Speaking of suspension, the rear shock is actually located over here, sort of like in this, with this triangle piece sort of like peeking out. It's actually really nice. The rebound on the rear shock is actually very responsive. Also, one thing I forgot to mention here, we have a 7-speed Shimano shifter here with the quick switch toggle buttons here, so you can cycle through the gears. With this bike, you're not going to see me pedaling as much. This bike, you know, you'll really mainly be using the throttle here, which is equipped with a half twist throttle on the right here. And yeah, I mean, these come standard with a lot of these fat tire e-bikes. Although, you know, for me, you know, if it's a bike that's going over 25-30 miles an hour, you're not going to really need this unless you really want to pedal. So you do have that option as well with the cadence sensor at the bottom over there. So as we work our way down to the bottom over here, you can see we have the Shimano derailleur. One thing that kind of concerns me a little bit is the derailleur kind of extends out too close to the bottom here. I'm assuming if you were to take this off-road or doing some sort of heavy trails, you're going to want to watch out for that, because this can snag on, like, you know, twigs or some kind of like brushery that, like, you know, that you're coming across when you're going through the trails and stuff like that. It is kind of low, probably about, like, you know, I don't know, like 4 or 5 inches from the ground, but still it's a little bit low for my liking if I were to take this off-road. So just another thing to note. I do like the removable battery here, even though it is only 48 volt. It does give you the option to kind of remove it from the mount here with this particular Shark Pack and take it in to charge it, you know, say in the office or at home and stuff like that. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention, it does have a working rear light as well over here. It doesn't illuminate that brightly, but it does illuminate. And you have this little plate holder here. If you decide to maybe upgrade this bike and have it registered or whatnot, you do have license plate mounts here. These are kind of small, but I mean, they are there for you to use if you happen to do so. Yeah, guys, so let's take the E2 out for a test ride, give our full opinion on it, and see how this thing rides. All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of a top speed test on pedal assist 5, all throttle, and we're gonna enable our GPS signal here. All right, here we go, guys. Shows 27 on the display. We're gonna see if that GPS is accurate. It's still at 27, 28. Oh, drop out down to 26. It's my little quarter-mile run that I usually do. Let's see what we got for top speed here. I have here the max is 25 miles an hour. And I've seen other reviewers sort of get that same number. And I don't think there's really any way to unlock it besides possibly doing like a shunt mod to the controller. But it claims 28, but it's actually 25 miles an hour for a top speed. All right, guys, so first thing off the bat is The suspension, especially the rear suspension, is super, super comfortable for this type of bike. It's really nice, actually. Has some good rebound, but you can actually feel it once you sit on the seat. That rebound is really, really solid. In terms of acceleration, there is a little bit of a throttle delay, maybe I'll probably say about a second, maybe a second and a half. Once you twist it, it's sort of like, it takes a little bit of time to kind of get going. But look at these bumps here, like, it just handles it super, really, really nicely. But as you can see, like with the throttle delay, look, once I snap the throttle, sort of takes a little bit of time to kind of pick up. Oh, this is gonna be messy. Yeah, but really nice. Even the front shocks, actually, I feel very little like rigidness, you know, especially when the front shocks hit like a pothole. It feels really nice. Okay, I'm gonna try and get in front of this guy here. On your right. I don't 100% trust bike lanes, as you can see here. Everyone's just kind of doing their own thing. Woo. But man, the ride does feel solid in a good way. I've been reading on some reviews from some people, and they feel 1,000 watt would be a nice upgrade for this bike. I do kind of agree in some sense, but I mean, if you're just cruising, especially in like a, you know, kind of like an urban setting, you know, I feel as though 750 watts, even though it is peak, is really all you need for that kind of commuting. Right side. The only thing I'm sort of not a fan of is probably the derailleur placement. Where it is kind of a little bit crazy. It's a little bit low. If you were to kind of take this thing off-road and you're, you know, passing through some rocks and, you know, shrubbery and stuff like that, it could get kind of caught in the chain. Do you have that on a boosted board? Yeah. It's so sick, dude. Yo, that's awesome, man. I've seen those with one wheels too. I mean, with the, yeah, that's crazy. NYC always surprises you, man. It's crazy. What the fuck? Crazy. You gotta watch out in NYC, man. Yo, this is nuts, man. Check the brakes out. That's pretty solid. So I would say maybe for an upgrade, if you're planning on increasing the speed of this, you know, whether with a motor swap or with a controller swap, highly recommend switching over to bigger rotors. I think right now this is like running like 160 or 180 millimeter rotors, and they grab nice, the RSX hydraulic brakes, but you need a bit more stopping power. So I would probably like increase that rotor size to about like 203 or even 220 in certain applications. This is a real bump test. Oh yeah. Yo, this feel this is crazy. Wow. That thing did so well. Also, another thing, when you do pedal the bike, so right now I have it on pedal assist 4. Let's increase it to pedal assist 5, just so you guys can get an idea. I mean, to be quite honest, you're probably not going to be pedaling this that much. It's a little bit awkward feeling, especially if you have like long legs. You see my knees are kind of like almost touching the top of the bars over here. But I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable bike to pedal, but it is doable. Another thing I forgot to mention is how nimble this bike is. Woo-hoo. Like, you could probably take this off of nice little curb jumps and stuff like that. And I think because the motor is so small, you don't really have to worry about sort of like clanking that motor, you know, from like impact. At least not as much as if you were to put like a 3000 or like a 5000 watt motor on it. But yeah, this bike feels super solid. See? That suspension is so crazy. I still can't get over how comfortable it is. The seat is not too bad. It's a little bit of, I mean, you don't really sink in too much. Like, it's pretty firm. I don't know how it would fare like doing like maybe like 2-3 hours of riding, but only time will tell. Yeah, I could see, man, if you put some good like off-road tires on this thing, like you could take this on like a single track or something like that and just kind of like rip it, you know. Also, if I didn't mention, this frame is aluminum, you know, so which pretty much contributes to why it's so light. But yeah, if I'm pedaling, it's you know, not the best, like I mentioned before. It's just an awkward position to be in. That's why it's better off just pinning the throttle, honestly. So in terms of the other pedal assist modes, if I put it on, let's start with pedal assist 1. Let's just see what we can get off of a roll. And we did the GPS verification earlier. It's a little bit faster than what it really is in terms of display to actual GPS. So this thing's probably going about 15 miles an hour off of mode 1. Now if we go to mode 2, let's see. Actually, go back to mode 1. Yeah. It's about 10 miles an hour, I would say. And I started looking like a clown pedaling a bike. All right, let's bump it up to level 3. Okay, maybe about like 12 miles an hour, I would say. Ugh. Oh yeah, okay. Let's go to 4. All right, this one feels a little bit more better. Pedaling up to 17 miles an hour, I think. All right. Now mode 5, let's go. Okay, about 20 miles an hour. All right, 22. Yeah, 23, not too bad. I like that. All right, guys, just got done riding the E2, testing it out. It's definitely a bike, if you were to be in a city like New York City, can handle potholes, can handle those big bumps, no question. All right, in terms of pros, gotta hand it to Windone for putting decent suspension on the front and the rear. It feels like you're almost on like, not like a mattress, but it has that very springy feeling, especially when you're going over bumps. But at the same time, it's very stable. So I have no issues. Like if you were the type of person to take this off-road, I'd be like, definitely the bike that can handle it. You know, I would get better off-road tires, but neither here nor there. Super nimble. I love the fact that Windone kept that in mind when designing this bike, that it could be used for that everyday cruiser, but at the same time, if you do want to use it for leisure, for going, you know, on trails and stuff like that on the weekends, this is the perfect bike for that. Another pro I'd have to mention would be the dash. I do love the LCD screen. The display is really nice, super bright, has all your necessary information here, you know, in terms of trip, in terms of battery and stuff like that. But I do love this sort of dial here, the plus and minus, sort of like cycling through the modes. It makes it real obvious, especially for a lot of entry-level riders, you know, when to switch modes and stuff like that. It's all available here, and they made it in sort of like a really straightforward design, you know, with the big pattern plus and minus symbols over here, your power button, and your light toggle and switch. Overall, a very solid dash. So another plus I would have to mention are definitely the mag wheels. I cannot stress to you how much it pains me to have to deal with spokes, especially when you're dealing with ones that like pop out and stuff like that, having to constantly tighten, you know, this spoke, seeing which one is loose and whatnot. Like, going with mag wheels is really the best choice for this type of bike. All right, going over the cons, I think this could have been upgraded to maybe a 750 watt or 1,000 watt motor, you know, especially for this type of bike that can sort of handle those bumps, those sort of like rugged environments. A little bit of a speed increase would have, I believe, helped this bike a little bit. If you were to increase that motor size, you know, by about, you know, 750 watts or 1,000 watts, I think you're only, you know, increasing it by a good like few hundred, maybe $300, $400, especially if you get like a good Bafang motor and stuff like that. But neither here nor there. I believe it would have been nice to see a higher rated motor. I feel as though it's sort of missing out with this type of frame. The other con I would say, and this, you know, maybe, you know, not a big deal for people, but Shimano gear shifters, not a big fan of those, especially with the derailleurs this low. I think it'd be sort of like a hazard, especially when, you know, taking it in wooded areas and stuff like that. I think they could have gone with maybe like a sort of a alternate derailleur choice, because this one's a bit low, and especially if you're doing jumps and stuff like that, this thing sort of clanks and hits the gear over here. You know, especially if you get too low on the rear suspension, this derailleur kind of hits your gears over here, and it could snag on something in the forest and stuff like that. So, not really a big fan of sort of this big sort of derailleur Shimano system here. Yeah, overall, man, I have to admit, this bike really surprised me. You know, at first I was like, oh, this is like a really budget like Surron bike look-alike, but honestly, this thing I do see a lot of upgrade potential. If you guys actually check out Endo Prism's YouTube channel, he actually upgraded the E2 to 72 volts, I believe. He was able to remove this shark pack and put like a gargantuan rectangular battery over here to kind of fit. And you know, he's running I think like 72 volts and maybe like 3,000 or 5,000 watts in the back. But they actually do have online, if you check on eBay, they have hub motors that have the mag wheel design as well. The same thing, the same design that you see here. So it would be a perfect fit if you're worried about it not sort of matching. Like if you had spokes in the back and you had mags in the front, they actually do have a mag wheel type motor. I believe it's 4,500 watts. So yeah, I do see upgrade potential in that. just word of advice, if you guys do use this as an upgrade bike, or you do sort of mod this thing out as like a budget build, definitely want to invest in some good torque arms. This frame itself is aluminum. It could be subject to sort of dropouts, stripping and stuff like that, especially with the high-speed motors. So I would definitely look into getting some good torque arms on the rear side for the rear motor. But yeah, guys, overall I would highly recommend the E2, even as just a cruiser or sort of your everyday commuter, especially if you live in a big city where you don't really have to go too fast. I think the E2 does a great job as stock. And then on the flip side, if you do want to upgrade this bike, I see a lot of upgrade potential, especially in the center position over here. You could put like a big pack, like a big e-moto pack, or even you can even throw even like a Surron battery in there. I don't know how tall some of the smaller packs are, like the 42 amp hour packs. Well, you could put it like right here. You would just have to really strap it tight, especially to the frame over here. You know, and throw a far driver underneath over here. You see over here, you kind of have this room to kind of put like a far driver, maybe even here, or maybe under the seat, and swap out this motor for a 4500 or a 5000 watt, 3000 watt motor, whichever you like, and you should be good. And of course, obviously upgrade your rotors, because those 160s are not going to cut it, especially when you're going over 50 miles an hour. So yeah, guys, overall highly recommend the Windone E2. Awesome e-bike, awesome budget build if you're starting, especially because it's under $1,000, and it's a great deal, and it's on sale right now. Put the link in the description below. But anyways, guys, hope y'all enjoyed today's review. I'll be back with another one soon, possibly this week, possibly next week. But yeah, if y'all enjoyed the content, please be sure to like, comment, or even subscribe, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.